Hey, welcome back. Happy Friday. Dave Altavilla here. Welcome back to Hot Hardware's 2.5 Geeks. And I'm here with my cohorts, Marco Chiappetta. I love that word, cohorts. Marco Chiappetta and Paul Lilly. It's really great to be here, guys. Don't go changing. You're beautiful.
I don't know. That's the first time anyone ever called me beautiful. You must be in a very good mood today.
I am. It's Friday. It's Friday, gentlemen. Doesn't get any better than that. Paul, are you in a good mood today, or are you grumpy?
I am. I'm excellent mood. Just moved down to Tennessee this past week. I'm loving the new place. So, howdy, y'all. Give me a couple weeks. I'll have the accent down pat.
Have the drawl down, brother. You know, it's funny. I'm looking at your digs there. They're looking nice. They're looking palatial. I think you need some furniture in that room, maybe. But
Oh, definitely do. Couch is first thing on the list. We left a lot of stuff at home.
yeah, awesome. Well, congratulations. I don't have a housewarming gift for you yet, but I'm sure you'll think of something.
I'll send a list.
So what's up for the weekend? Anything exciting, guys, or should we just get right into the nuts and bolts?
I got lots of stuff going on this weekend. Tonight, date night, which is a huge thing for us. We never get out. Tomorrow night, I have all my boxing buddies coming over to watch the Canelo fight. We're going to order the pay-per-view and get fat on pizza and wings. So that should be fun.
Beautiful. Paul, anything exciting for the weekend?
No, but I'm thinking I might go to Marco's now.
Yeah, man. Doors open.
Kind of a haul at this point for you. You know what, though, Paul? Sunday, it's Squish the Fish.
Oh, yes, it is. The Pats.
The New England Patriots versus the Miami Dolphins.
Jimmy G.
Dolphins
Jimmy,
aren't fish, you meatheads.
In Jimmy we trust.
A dolphin's a mammal's not a fish.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound right if I say Squish the Mammals, okay?
We're going to trounce the
Wise ass.
tuna.
Football lovers.
Yeah. Okay, boxer boy. All right, we'll keep it. We'll keep it moving. We'll keep it moving here. Let's get into the week's headlines and more, because we've been away for a while, and we're sorry about that, folks. But thanks for joining us again on this show that we try and determine who's the half geek. But by the end of the podcast, you'll probably figure it out for yourselves. But we guarantee at least two geeks on this show. So, Marco, you were playing with some lightning fast storage this week from the folks at Toshiba and Intel. I'm going to let you dive into which you feel first to tee up. But Toshiba OCZ's VX500, a SATA drive, actually, and Intel's SSD 600P, which is of the NVMe ilk.
Yeah, so I will start with the Toshiba OCZ VX500 drive. Let me give you guys a quick glance at that there.
Perfect.
See it? So this new setup with Google is not showing me my video, so I have to trust that you guys got to see that here. So yeah, this is a very cool drive. So SATA solid state drives haven't been terribly exciting for a while because lots of the faster drives are, bumping into the limits of the interface. But manufacturers, they continue to tweak and tune them to bring prices down while keeping performance up. And that's exactly what Toshiba OCZ did with this drive. So some of the key features here, we're talking about capacities from 128 gigs on up through 1 terabyte. Standard 2.5-inch, 7mm Z height SATA drive. So they're going to fit in whatever 2.5-inch enclosure or notebook or system that can accommodate a 2.5-inch drive. But what they did here was lots of the more affordable SSDs today are using TLC NAND, a more affordable, technically less durable type of NAND flash memory. But these are actually using MLC NAND, so a more durable, a higher performing class of NAND flash memory. But OCZ was able to keep, prices in line. I'm just jumping through, my article here. You'll see these drives once availability ramps up and they're kind of available everywhere, they should be offered in about the 33 cents per gigabyte range. So a 1 terabyte SSD is only about $335. It's still expensive versus a hard drive, but it's not crazy. And, let's say a 256 gig drive, which would be way more than enough for most people's OS drives, only $92. And you're talking transfer speeds in excess of 500 megs per second reads, strong writes, durability that's way up there in terms of terabytes written per day. I think the highest capacity, actually, let me just jump to the specs so I don't say the wrong thing. So this drive here that I have, this is the 1 terabyte drive. You can write 324 gigs a day for 592 terabytes written over the lifetime. Like, that's awesome durability for a mainstream drive in this price range.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually just sharing out the specs. I don't know if everybody can read them right now. It's kind of an eye chart, but yeah, you know, and it's actually MLC technology, so a little bit higher endurance than TLC, I guess. This thing kind of screams notebook upgrade to me, right? I mean, you could see somebody with you know, a legacy hard drive in a notebook, especially something as slow as 5400 RPM, which is very common in notebook setups. Probably like night and day to put one of these bad boys in there, right?
Well, absolutely. Over any hard drive, huge upgrade in terms of not only bandwidth, but access times, much lower latency, which, you know, you kind of bring up a good point. One thing that Toshiba OCZ does that many manufacturers haven't been doing is they include a copy of Acronis True Image with the drive. So if you need to clone something over from an existing drive, you can do it. They include, you know, a key for Acronis, and it's a great app. Toshiba also offers a really good utility for maintaining the drive. But considering how affordable they are, they even sort of make sense for somebody that wants to use them for bulk storage, like say for their Steam library. If you want to get your games off a hard drive, Steam will quickly fill up a small SSD. So if you want to slap, you know, extra terabyte of solid state storage in your rig, you can do it for a couple $100.
Nice, nice, and that would make for some quick level loads there for sure with an SSD.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm looking at this thing too. It's interesting. It's not built. It seems to be built. I don't know why they did this, but it seems to be built sturdier than most. I'm looking at it and I'm seeing all aluminum chassis. Did they? It looks like they've got. Let me share this out too. It looks like they've. Did they heat sink it to the chassis? It looks like the chips.
Yeah. So lots of little things. That I really like that OCZ does that some manufacturers don't on their more affordable drives. So the chassis is all aluminum. It is not quite as heavy as, say, the previous gen, the Vector or Vertex series enclosures, but it is all metal, and it's not a snap-together enclosure. There's screws holding it together. The PCB is also held in place with screws, and every chip inside has a thermal pad, so it does make contact with the chassis. Now, it barely gets warm to the touch, but still that little extra cushion, little extra, you know, thermal capacity to pull heat away from the chips, all that little stuff kind of adds up to a really nice drive for the money.
Cool.
Well, and aren't they really pushing the durability angle with this line as well?
Yeah, that's the other great thing. So it's priced like a TLC drive, but you get that MLC for the extra, you know, endurance. So there's a lot to like with this drive. If you're looking for an affordable SATA SSD, let's say you have a system that's a generation or two old, you can't use NVMe, but you still want that nice upgrade especially over a hard drive, absolutely look at this drive.
So SATA is the legacy interface everybody knows, and but there's still opportunity for performance enhancement there, obviously, especially if you're coming off of a standard SATA hard drive. Good stuff.
Yep.
From OCZ, and you also took a look at something a little bit more next gen NVMe technology from the folks at Intel, right?
Yeah. So here is the Intel SSD 600P. Can you guys see that? Because it's not showing me my video.
Yeah,
we see that little gum stick.
It's
so
very nice.
M.2 80 millimeter. Typical little gum stick here. This drive is a 512 gig model. It's featuring Intel Micron IMFT TLC. I'm sorry, yeah, 3D TLC NAND flash. There's a little bit of DRAM cache on there, and the controller is from SMI, Silicon Motion. Is that right? Did I get that right?
I think you might be right.
Yeah. So this drive kind of goes a different direction than most NVMe drives. NVMe to date has been about just rocket ship performance, pushing performance like crazy, getting, you know, multi-gigabyte per second transfers out of the drives for those huge performance upgrades. That's great. Enthusiasts want that. Everybody wants those in their systems, but they're pricier. Those higher end NVMe drives are sort of, you know, more than double, maybe triple the price of a SATA drive, some of them even more for the higher performing ones. What Intel's doing with these guys, performance is very good versus SATA. For example, the 512 gig drive we tested here, sequential reads peak at around 1.7 gigabytes per second, writes at about 560 megabytes a second. But these guys are like barely 50 cents a gigabyte. They're by far the cheapest NVMe SSDs you can get. So if you don't need the absolute fastest NVMe drive out there, but you still want a nice upgrade, Intel just pushed the price of NVMe storage way down with these guys.
Yeah, let me present to everybody here. There's a closer look at it. You're absolutely right. There's the SMI controller on it, and you can see that the Intel Micron Flash IMFT. Yeah, pretty good. The specs are interesting. Looks like reads, which is what everybody pretty much cares about the most for a responsive feeling system. Reads are nice. They're up approaching, especially at the 1 terabyte size, 1.8 gig. Drops down to a gig and a half, 1.5 gigs a second roughly on a 256 gig drive. Writes are they're kind of more like SATA speed. You're talking 560 megs a second. So, you know, it's still NVMe-like performance at SATA-like prices, but not quite in terms of writes, right? I mean, you're missing some bandwidth there on the right side of the equation.
Yeah, there's actually two things to consider with this drive. Writes are not quite as high as some of the higher end NVMe drives, which I'm perfectly fine with, again, because of the price. There's also, depending on the capacity of the drive, there's a portion of the NAND set aside to act as an SLC cache. So you get max performance through a certain volume, and then once that's exceeded, performance kind of drops way off. But for most typical desktop workloads where you're not transferring tons of data constantly, it's going to be a super fast drive, huge upgrade over hard drives. It is an upgrade over SATA, but again, you get that boost in performance, the additional benefits of NVMe for a price that's only slightly more than SATA. For a mainstream system, and the M.2 form factor also enables the smaller form factor systems. So if you're building a mini ITX system and you have an M.2 slot on there, you can have super fast storage and a nice little board just in a little tiny footprint.
Yeah, I'm looking at these things on Amazon, and I mean, I'm looking at the 128 gig variant pricing in at $66. Believe it or not, it's that cheap. And let's see, I don't know, 256 gigs currently right now about $112. Not bad.
Right, the 512 gigs, $200 right now. Some people selling for like $197. So that's not bad.
Paul, do you want all that, or is NVMe? I don't know. Is that a little still beyond your price range?
It's not beyond my price range, but I think what's neat about this is you're going to see OEMs slapping these into pre-built machines. Yeah. So you're gonna have faster systems coming out without that huge price jump.
That's a good point. It's funny. We're still seeing notebook manufacturers, and I thought of that, Marco, when you launched this article. We're still seeing notebook manufacturers putting in M2 drives that aren't full NVMe. They're M2 SATA or PCI Express, but not full bandwidth NVMe, and the performance it's okay. I mean, sometimes you'll see drives that are hitting for a 256 gig drive hitting like 700 megs a second, and writes are like 300 to 500 megs a second. These drives, on the read side especially, which is what most the average consumer really cares about, that system responsiveness that you want, especially on random IO. These drives are naturals for notebooks, and it's like if Intel can push these out into the OEMs, you'll see some really fast notebooks as a result of it. Or more commonly, versus having to go into the manufacturer's website, the notebook OEM's website, and dial up the SSD option, the NVMe SSD option, and now all of a sudden your config goes way out of whack because you got to add in all these other options as well. It might be more of a standard option, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and if you look at trace-based benchmarks like PCMark, it's faster than all those SSDs that you mentioned, where they are M.2, they're PCI Express SSDs, but not NVMe. It's clearly faster than them. I had the Kingston Predator in the comparison data, and it's faster than them. And then versus the way more expensive faster drive, faster drives, the difference is small. You're talking a 5800 score for the 600P versus 6,000, let's say, for the OCZ RD400, 6,038. So it's not a huge delta.
Yeah.
So,
I'm actually sharing that out right now to everybody. They can take a look at it.
You know what's neat too about these products is it's bringing up the performance of the bottom line, because you remember when netbooks first came out, they were like between 200 and 400 bucks, but the first generation ones, they were, you know, painful to use. I mean, they sucked pretty much. But now, you know, the hardware is outpacing the software. So stuff like this is, you know, bringing up that bottom line to where you spend, you know, a few $100 on a laptop and it'll handle, you know, just about everything except gaming.
Yeah.
And then you get all the benefits of an Intel SSD. They do a ton of qualification. You know this thing's going to be reliable long term. So it's a nice product for the money.
Absolutely. Yeah, you know, it's funny. We talk a lot about SSDs at HotHardware.com, and it's because we are big fans of the technology. And we will say it again. There isn't an upgrade probably you could make unless you're really behind a couple of notches on the CPU side, or you're really emaciated on memory. There's almost no other upgrade, or graphics or something like that. You're like 3 or 4 generations behind. There's almost no other upgrade that you can make to your system that will be such a noticeable, tangible, appreciable gain as dropping in a solid state drive, especially if you're coming from, or a new solid state drive, especially if you're coming from spinning media, right?
Yeah.
Right, guys?
Absolutely. Huge upgrade.
Yeah, we do love our SSDs. So I'm holding up something here, and we'll shift gears now to a machine, a notebook that we talked about that actually has one of those SSDs. This is the, oh man, how do I get this into the frame? There we go. This is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga. Okay, it is the follow-on to the X1 Carbon, but it's been yogaized. Let's see if I can get back a little bit more and stay near my mic. This baby is a nice machine, 2.8-pound frame. We did a little review on it back in April, believe it or not. But it has been recently refreshed with something that I'm also very much a fan of, and that's OLED display. It has a 14-inch, 2560 by 1440 native resolution OLED display. And as you can see, I just flipped that sucker into tablet mode, and let's get the display flipped around. Oh, there's my orientation. It's not going to do that. The camera's not going to do it justice here, but this upgrade alone transforms this notebook. It is an awesome machine now, in my opinion. I gave it an editor's choice with that OLED display. It's night and day when you compare. You know, we were talking about comparing solid state storage to spinning media. It is absolutely night and day when you compare an OLED display versus an IPS display and a standard notebook IPS display. And whether you talk about the brightness, the contrast, or the gobs of saturation, this machine just looks fantastic now. One of the things, frankly, we used to sort of ding Lenovo on was that their displays, on the IPS side for the ThinkPad line were always a little on the dim side. We wanted a little bit more brightness output from them. This is spec'd at 300 nits, but it's 300, which is on the upper end of notebook displays. It's not particularly standout in that spec. But when you fire up OLED, the contrast ratio that's involved, I think it's spec'd at 2 million to 1, which frankly there's a lot of specsmanship that goes on with contrast ratio. But when you see it compared to an IPS display, it is just it's awesome. You look at it, it just pops. And so we refreshed the review on that. Let me share this out with everybody, and I'll sort of step through it a little bit. We've got a video review up. Check that out. Great stuff. I give you the nickel tour, walk around of the machine. But this is actually a Skylake derivative, I should say variant of Intel's Core i7 processor family. Not 7th generation yet, not Kaby Lake yet. But Core i7 6600U is what I tested. It's powered with Intel integrated graphics. We have actually a configuration in this machine up to 16 gig of RAM and a 512 gig M2 SATA solid state drive. The solid state drive, believe it or not, could be a little bit faster. It's a SATA drive. You're getting somewhere in around 500 megabytes a second reads and writes. The system still feels very responsive, though. And there goes my phone.
Oh, good. It sounded like my ringer. I had it ready to hang up on whoever.
I like that Marco just instinctively reached down to his phone.
You know, the crazy thing is, I actually turned the ringer off, so I thought, but not apparently I didn't. So, anyways, it's not a show until the phone rings, right, guys?
That's right.
But yeah, yeah, this machine's, you know, it's decked out pretty well, and performance is excellent. It's, you know, right up there with, you know, the rest of you know, sort of premium ultrabook setups these days. But with that OLED display, just fabulous. The other thing that's great is Lenovo's keyboard. I'm going to switch this back off. Lenovo's keyboards are also excellent as well. You get that standard Lenovo ThinkPad setup keyboard with contoured keycaps, really nice roomy trackpad, 2-button mouse on that, and just a really well-built machine. And that Yoga hinge really sets off that display. The only thing I wish they could do is minimize bezel like the folks at Dell did with the Infinity Edge display technology, but Dell has not brought OLED to the XPS line yet. So you know, this is the first ultrabook we've seen with OLED display. We have seen gaming notebooks from Dell's Alienware division that has OLED display technology, but this is one fantastic machine, and I say OLED should be an option across every notebook manufacturer's portfolio. What do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we saw HP had one at CES, but I'm not sure it's gone on sale yet. Yeah, absolutely gorgeous. There were apparently, in the lead up to releasing them, there were issues with burn-in and motion, and all the manufacturers sort of had to tune and tweak things to get that in line. But yeah, it seems like, you know, the experiment has paid off, and when you experience one of those OLED displays, it's clearly superior. It's just beautiful to see. You know, Dave put up here's a video in Dave's article that shows viewing angles and sort of side-by-side comparisons with the IPS model. Even in a YouTube video that doesn't do it justice, you can clearly see the benefits of the OLED. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned burn-in. I haven't played with it a whole lot. I'm certainly not going to try and, you know, ghost the screen in some way or cause a burn-in issue intentionally. But one of the things we put to the manufacturers, to both Dell and Lenovo, when we've tested their new machines with OLED, we put that to them. That was the question. You know, do consumers have to be concerned with OLED over IPS? And in general, the answer is yes. OLED is more prone to burn-in. You know, if you leave it at full bright, especially on, you know, a static image with high contrast, yeah, it is more prone than IPS. However, they both acknowledge that no, in fact, but it's not that much more of a concern that we wouldn't, you know, put it out into a mass production product, and it's backed by our warranty, just like all of our other products. So it's not that much of a concern. If, you know, we're going to sell it and we're going to warranty it fully, just like all of our products. So they're not that concerned. Let me see if I can share this out, Marco.
So while you're sharing that out, one thing I forgot to mention, I am monitoring comments on YouTube. So if you have questions, go ahead and post. And speaking of burn-in, you know, it can happen on basically any display. I'm sitting in front of one of those crazy expensive first-gen 4K IGZO panels. Yeah. And my taskbar, where all my icons are, you know, which is basically on top of the screen all times, my screen has burn-in. So I'm not to the point where I want to ditch it. I'm going to wait until there's, you know, some 120 hertz 4K panels. But yeah, like, it's an annoyance that I have to deal with when I have solid colors on the screen. I have burn-in on here.
I would argue, yeah, and I hear you. I would argue that the average desktop probably stays motionless and without screensaver and activated, you know, than the average notebook. The average notebook, you know, most people, because you're talking about battery life issues.
We have a winner.
Chicken dinner, baby.
I'm doing a podcast. Never call here again.
I nailed it. I said 15 minutes in. You're right on the money.
There you go. We're both chirping today, though. But yeah, you know, the average notebook, obviously, with battery life concerns and stuff like that, it's going to sleep, you know, and screensavers are kicking in to power down the display. So I think it's less of a concern, and it's nice that they're getting. Let me share this out again so you can see it. While you were talking, Marco, I was sharing the comparison, the viewing angle comparison, and here it is. You know, in the rear, in the background here, the brighter display you can see is actually the ThinkPad X1 Yoga, and the foreground, the girl in the red dress there, the foreground is the ThinkPad X1 Carbon with IPS display, and you can see dramatically, even at a disadvantage, the X1 Yoga with OLED in the background now at a disadvantage is still dramatically brighter, more vibrant, and then when you put it in the foreground, where it's at a slight advantage versus the IPS panel, it's like, well, night and day. I mean, it's almost like the other panel's off comparatively. And so, and then here straight on, you can see that the frogs here in this, it's hopefully, I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit more, but it is just, you know, yeah, it's night and day. And so really, I think notebook manufacturers owe it to themselves to continue to drive volume demand for OLED panels and get that cost down, get the economies of scale going on this technology, and get it in, make it an option in your portfolio, make it an available option, because it's that impressive. You'll sell notebooks, you know, when you do an A/B side by side, you know, at Best Buy or wherever, you will sell notebooks on this stuff, I think.
Is the difference as pronounced in person as it showed up in those pictures?
It's more pronounced in person.
Really?
Pictures, like,
that's a huge difference.
Yeah. The camera actually robs it of, you know, I don't have a nice, you know, serious 4K red camera or anything like that to shoot video with, but the camera actually robs some of the punch from the OLED panel. It really does. Yeah. Let's share it out again. It's It really transformed this machine. You know, frankly, we gave the ThinkPad X1 Yoga, we gave it a recommended award on the first pass. One of the issues we found, it's a very thin and light machine at 2.8 pounds. One of the issues we found, because we're doing battery life testing now with fully calibrated panels, so we take a lux meter and we calibrate panels to make sure they're outputting the same brightness. You know, a 50% brightness setting in Windows, laptop to laptop, doesn't mean the same brightness. That you have to make sure the panels are actually outputting the right number of lux or lumens. And so we kind of dinged the X1 Yoga with IPS a little bit. It wasn't quite editor's choice. It was still recommended based on battery life. The OLED panel, the nice thing about OLED too is it's actually better in terms of power consumption, and actually gained almost an hour of uptime over the IPS enabled version notebook. So now I think it was like 50 plus minutes of extra uptime on the battery with the OLED panel too. So superior brightness and contrast, better battery life in the model that we tested for roughly a $240 premium. There is a premium there, obviously, with OLED. But again, if notebook manufacturers start incorporating these things in their design more often and drive that volume up, then we can get the price down. And I'd say it's a win-win. We gave it an editor's choice with that OLED panel. So yeah. All right. So let's move on. I've been droning on about the wonders of OLED too long. Paul, you looked at something a little bit more. I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Utility.
Exciting.
No, utility. like you got to have this thing. It's kind of the cornerstone to any desktop enthusiast, gamer, or workstation professional.
The exciting world of keyboards.
A good keyboard.
It actually is, because I know we're all mechanical keyboard snobs here.
Yeah.
I am. I'm pretty sure you guys are as well. I know Marco is.
I can prove I am. Do you even know what that is?
Is it something from IBM? No.
That's a Topre Realforce 104.
I don't. Yeah.
Ooh.
If you say so.
Marco's used just about every mechanical keyboard on the planet, probably except for the one that I got to review here, which is Das Keyboard's newest model. They've kind of helped popularize the mechanical keyboard genre. They've been doing this for like a decade. I use their Das Keyboard 4 Professional as my daily typer. This one that they came out with, the Prime 13, is the follow-up model to that. And right away, you should be able to tell what's different about this one.
Man, it is chunky. Or I should say, it just looks substantial.
It is. These are solidly built keyboards. They're heavier than the average plank. What's new about this one is they finally added a backlight, which is something they haven't done to their professional line. They did have a backlight on their recent gaming division. I think it's called, I'm trying to blank on that one. The Division Zero, that X40 Pro that we reviewed a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be, going forward, that's going to be, the Division Zero is going to be where they put their gaming amenities. This one, they were shooting for a minimalistic keyboard, or so they said. So there's not a ton of features. You do get the backlight, which has been something people have been asking for a long time. It is limited to a white LED, so it's not an RGB backlight. And at launch, they're using the Cherry MX Brown key switches, which if you're familiar with these, they give you the tactile response, but they don't give you that loud click sound like the Cherry MX Blues, which is what their past keyboards are known for. However, they've told me that they are in the process of adding that as an option. I don't know when, but at some point you'll be able to get the Prime 13 with the Cherry MX Blues. As far as the keyboard goes, it's fairly similar to the desk keyboard for professional that came out before it. You lose the oversized volume knob and the dedicated media controls. Now they're integrated into the function keys, so they're still there. It's just more of a minimalistic design, which is what they're shooting for. They're going for something that's going to appeal to the professional typist that doesn't want all the extras or necessarily have to pay for all the extras. That said, the keyboard is going to set you back $150, which is a little on the high end for kind of a plain mechanical keyboard.
$150 though, huh? Is it clicky?
No, it's a Cherry MX Brown, so it's a quiet keyboard. You do get the tactile feedback, so you can feel where it actuates. Yeah. But you don't get the loud clicks that you get like with the Cherry MX Blues. They're gonna add that option down the line at some point.
Gotcha. I'm not a big clicky guy. I know Marco likes clicky. I'm not a clicky guy.
I love the clicky.
I vacillate right now. Like the Topre is non-clicky. It's a capacitive mechanical keyboard. Underneath my desk, also attached, is my Cherry Blue. What I want, and nobody makes it. You can do it if you buy the keycaps separately, but someone, and I'm telling all keyboard manufacturers, trust me on this, you'll sell every single one of these. If somebody makes a mechanical keyboard with dedicated media keys, RGB backlighting, PBT keycaps that are double shot with translucent letters so they'll never wear out and they won't get shiny, with a nice rigid enclosure that's not going to flex, a high quality product, even if it's closer to the $200 range, every single one of them will sell. The one thing I absolutely hate, and it happens to every single keyboard, is when the keys get shiny, the side of the space bar is all shiny from where your thumb rests. It just looks like ass. And you spend all that you spend all that money on one of these keyboards, and a few months in, it looks terrible. But if you have those high quality PBT caps, they're durable enough to not get shiny. If you do the double shot with the translucency, they'll never wear out. If you had the RGB lighting, you get that cool customization option. Nobody does everything all in one. Like you can get a Ducky keyboard with most of the features and then change the keycaps, but now you're like way over $200.
That's a good point too about the keys becoming glossy, because that's what's happened to my daily typer since I use it more than I guess the average person uses a keyboard. But the keys, all of them now are pretty much glossy, and the new Prime 13 that they came out with, it's pretty much the same keyboard, it's just designed a little different, but same materials. So you can expect over time that that's going to happen there as well.
Yep. And they don't look like ass.
Yeah, they do.
It's okay. We're kind of PG-13 here. I think we can get away with, little of the backside.
Okay, cool.
We're so edgy.
We're so edgy.
I love my keyboards. What can I say? It came out for a second.
Dude, I mean, honestly, I follow keyboards very loosely. I know what I like. I run a DEC mechanical keyboard. It's really nice. It's time for a new one, probably. I've beaten it up over, a few years. I've had too many lunches over it. But you were like literally, and I'm the half geek this show, clearly. You were talking gibberish there for a minute.
Sorry.
No, it's good. I know there's folks out there that are appreciating it, that are all over this thing. I'm kind of like, I don't follow it enough. I'll just pick a keyboard up and go, yeah, I like that, or I don't like that. And clicky noise tends to annoy me. But other than that, it's like, as long as the keycaps are mechanical, as long as the key actuation is mechanical, I'm good. I don't like membrane switches. They feel like crap. But yeah, dude, you're like a monk with the keyboards.
It's just, you spend all that money. And, it's funny when you try to convince someone on the benefits of a mechanical keyboard, price is always an issue. And then if you want to show them, and you show them this ugly, disgusting plank, it's like, yeah, whatever, this guy's crazy. But it's absolutely true. Like, even mice, I don't mean to call out Corsair, but this is a great mouse here, but I don't have enough slack to show you. You use it for a while, and, the rubberized stuff all comes off, looks terrible. Someone's got to make a mouse that feels good, that's not going to look like this in 6 months. Like
I got one. I got one. I don't know if I can get it in the shot, but can you guys see this?
What is it? I can't see it.
You can't see it. Well, anyways, I can't get in the shot. I don't have a long enough cord. Logitech G9.
That thing's awesome. Oh wait, the original G9 or the G900 KS Spectrum?
The original G9 with the weights and all that.
See, mine the buttons got all shiny too. And it was a little too fat.
Did it look worn out like Marco's, or do we need to get him some hand wipes?
I think he needs hand wipes.
I am a greasy Italian. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey.
All right, let's move on real quick, and I'll just touch very quickly on some phones we're looking at, and then we'll keep moving because we're running out of time. We got a lot of ground to cover. So let's talk about the LG these days. Everybody's droning over the iPhone 7. Motorola is telling folks skip the 7 and look at the Moto Z. Skip the 7s. They're saying skip the Note 7, skip the iPhone 7. Interesting campaign. But LG is still making phones out there, and they're making some interesting ones these days. The LG G5 is one that we took a look at recently, and we were a little bit late to the party. The first phone we got was actually defective. We had some issues with it. And so it took us another shot to get another phone in, another version of it in. The LG G5, we actually reviewed that this week. Chris Getting from HotHardware reviewed that for us, and frankly, we were not that impressed. It is one of the first modular phones. Motorola had has the Moto Z family, and that is a whole different type of modular system, modular attachment. The LG G5 actually utilizes, I'm going to share this out now, see if I can get this out to everybody. LG G5 utilizes this what they call the magic slot, and as you can see right here, the battery actually slides into the chassis and slides out with that little adapter, which is the Friends LG Friend adapter, and then the battery actually connects up inside the and the top of the phone actually makes its connection. So it's interesting, but unfortunately, unlike the Moto Z family, frankly, we didn't find it to be a very clean, well-executed implementation of modularity of modular phones. The mods that they had, there was a camera mod, and they were just kind of janky. They didn't really work that well. And then the fit and finish with this modular approach as well was just lacking for us. Otherwise, a decent phone. LG is one of the few manufacturers that actually has replaceable batteries, user serviceable batteries. So if you're a power user and you want that, relatively pure Android experience, LG is pretty good about not too much skinning over marshmallow in this case. but you know, you've got some good power user sort of amenities here. Where we felt it lacked was fit and finish and build quality, and the execution of that modular connection was just a little flat. However, I want to end on a more positive note for LG, because I'm actually looking at a phone right now that we haven't reviewed yet, and that is the LG V20, V for Victor or Victory. And I'm going to try and blow out the webcam here. But this is the V20. It's a 5.7-inch phone, so it's a large, I hate to use the word, phablet kind of device. But this little guy is interesting. And, you know, at first when I got it, it took me a little bit to get used to it, to sort of appreciate it, because frankly, I'm used to seeing some pretty highly polished handsets lately, the Moto Zs, Samsung Galaxy S7, and the Note 7, which unfortunately is a little explosive. But in LG's format is different. It's a little plain Jane. It's a little bit more subdued, as you can see here, you know, sort of a pewter flat finish. And it does have a removable backing. There's a little button on the side here. Whoops, come off real easy too. And you can get at the battery. But this guy has some interesting features that I didn't really pick up on until I started to dig into this phone and begin to appreciate. Number one, it's one of the first phones out there, besides some pure Nexus phones from Google, that is actually rocking Android Nougat. So you've got Android N, Android 7 Nougat on this phone. And there's some nice new features there. You've got split screen mode, native split screen app sharing mode. On a single display, you can run multiple apps and resize how much real estate they're taking. It also has some other interesting features, including dual front and back cameras. And the camera setup there's some pretty interesting technology going on with autofocus and whatnot, and I've got to dig into that, and image stabilization as well. I haven't really dug into it yet, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but so there's some special camera magic going on here that is interesting. The thing I did try out, which I didn't expect to be wowed by, was the quad hi-fi DACs. Believe it or not, the audio circuit in this phone, LG has what's called quad hi-fi DACs, or digital to analog converters, excuse me. And honestly, I've heard this feature before in other phones, and it may have even been a previous version LG phone, and I wasn't that impressed. I'd flip it on, I'd be like, I kind of think I'm hearing something better. This, and I don't know if they didn't have quad or whatever. I'd have to do my research and my history on it. But this, now mind you, I run a pair of Bose IE2s for my buds. Okay, for my earbuds, and I have very fussy ears when it comes to headphones. And people are going to go, "Oh, Bose is crap." Well, I'm sorry, but I would argue that Bose has probably the best bass response of any bud on the market. One of the things I notice with earbuds is that, especially this little guy I have in my ear, it's nice and subdued, but man, they're always tinny. They sound tinny and thin, and no low end. You know, good highs, God knows, copious highs. No low end at all. When I put my Bose IE2s into this phone and I hit that button for the quad hi-fi DAC, it actually has a software toggle. It is noticeable. And what's interesting is it actually opens things up. You actually get, as the feature proclaims, you actually do get more dynamic range. And I could hear it. And I was like, okay, I'm missing. It seems like I lost a little low end, maybe, but no, actually I didn't. It just tightened up a little bit. It wasn't as muddy. And then I heard better mid-range through my IE2s than I was hearing with it off. And I need to do a little bit more A/B testing versus my Samsung phone. I have a Galaxy S7 Edge that I run. So I want to compare the audio circuits there and what they sound like, but I was impressed with the quad hi-fi DAC. I'm like, dang, that actually sounds pretty good. So this phone's kind of turned me around a little bit. I didn't expect, when I opened the box, I was kind of like, it's kind of subtle and unassuming. It's got some interesting features, especially if you're an audiophile.
Very nice.
Would you guys buy a phone for a better audio circuit? Is music that important?
I personally wouldn't. I never use my phone for audio. So
No.
No.
Paul?
I would if the camera was really good on it as well. That's the two things that I use the phone most for is taking pictures and listening to music. So
Yeah. See, I'm the same way. Sure, you want to pull up an email, you want to browse the web real quick, do something real quick on the phone on the web. But other than making phone calls, I listen to music and yeah, it's a camera. It's how's the camera and how's the audio features. Now, honestly, between most phones, the audio circuit isn't much of a concern. They're all kind of the same. You plug in some headphones, as long as you get quality earbuds or whatever, they kind of the same. This may be, and I need to do some more A/B testing versus non-quad hi-fi deck capable phones. I want to do some A/B testing there, but this is kind of standout, and I was like, wow, it's something I didn't expect to be impressed by.
Well, not all of them have a standard 3.5 millimeter audio jack either, though. Don't forget that.
Yeah. I don't know. As long as you hand out the USB-C to analog 3.5 millimeter analog jack converter, fine. We're all just dealing with a little bit longer cord, no big deal. But anyways, check it out when we get that review up. It's not live yet. We're still testing. We're still writing. We're still video shooting. And but stay tuned for the LG V20 because I think it's going to be something interesting in terms of a new handset in the market. Marco.
Yeah.
Let's shift gears. And shall we talk a giveaway or shall we talk Intel real quick? Because we've only got a few minutes left.
I'm going to super quickly. Chat wasn't working on the YouTube video apparently, so I have a couple of comments on my Facebook post. Craig C. Dieter was commenting on OLED and how awesome it is, and he just actually commented and said LG phone audio. Pandora is playing on my phone daily, so audio is an important feature for him. So some people, I guess, would dig that extra audio feature. But yeah, so before I talk giveaway, it's been a while since we podcasted last, and there's been tons of news. These aren't reviews, but both Intel and AMD revealed tons of details on their next-gen processor architectures. We have architecture details and preliminary hints at performance with AMD Zen. AMD actually threw a demo where the Zen, it was an 8-core, 6-core, 8-core processor.
Yep.
Just barely edged out an 8-core Broadwell E at the same clocks using this particular benchmark called Blender. Since then, additional benchmarks have leaked out that don't paint such a nice picture, but those benchmarks were not really confirmed, so we're not going to dwell on those. But AMD Zen looking fairly strong. We also have a ton of details on Kaby Lake, Intel's next gen for 7th gen core processors. We have architecture details on graphics, power, clocks, expected performance increases, changes to the manufacturing process. So if you want to dig into some nuts and bolts type stuff, we have that information up on the site as well. Chris Gotting just sent me an IM, is asking where Paul's hat is. We'll have to figure that out for the next podcast.
Next show. I'll have it for the next one.
So, but now getting back to the giveaway. Finally, we have an awesome giveaway happening. We are giving away an HP Pavilion X360 13T convertible notebook. Really nice, thin, sleek, mainstream 13-inch machine that does have a 360 hinge, so you can use it as a tablet, set it up in stand mode, set it up in tent mode, does it all. And it's a fairly high-end notebook, a Skylake-based Core i5 6200U, 8 gigs of RAM, 13.3-inch display with touch, 128 gig M.2 SSD, Bang & Olufsen audio, just lots of cool stuff in a nice 3.6 pound package. Beautiful little machine, super easy to win. Come by the site, like our Facebook page, participate in the community, but don't spam. Don't just try to get your post count up with lots of one-word posts. Make some friends and contribute to the conversations. Every single post kind of gets your name tossed into a hat and increases your chances. So come by, have some fun, make friends, lots of cool geeks on the site. Plus, you can interact with me, Dave, and Paul if you wanted.
God help you for that.
Yeah, I don't know who would want to do that, but you can if you want to.
You know, this is actually a pretty cool looking machine too. It's kind of a gold, brush gold sort of look finish to it, and yeah, it's actually really kind of a nice mid range machine, 3.6 pound machine, huh? And we're giving it away.
Sure are.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
you can't win nothing. Sorry.
All right, I'll stop posting. I was doing that the whole time.
You're not eligible. Yeah, no, we've got lots of stuff going on at HotHardware.com, so make sure you stop by the site and check it out. What are you guys working on? What's coming? What's down the pipe before we say goodbye to everybody? What's in the queue?
I have a beautiful, I assume it's going to be pretty killer. I haven't run any tests on it. Intel's latest enterprise SSD that's also going to be relatively affordable in that class. Having a really cool Skylake-based gigabyte bricks that I'm just about done with. A couple of graphics cards. And I think that's it. I don't even know. I have so much stuff.
A couple of graphics cards. He just says stuff so casually, like really cool, like heavy-duty stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Good stuff. Paul, what do you got in the queue?
I have a MSI laptop with Pascal graphics. We did a preview on it, I think, a week or so ago. So we'll have the full review of that pretty soon. And then Huawei, is that how you pronounce them? Huawei?
Huawei.
The Honor 7 or the Honor 8, whatever their latest smartphone is.
Honor 8, yeah. Very cool, very cool. And I've got the LG V20 that's coming. Let's see, I've actually got something coming in from Netgear that the name of the product escapes me, but it's a new, actually very interesting technology. I'm pretty excited to take a look at. They're sending a kit with the new router mesh network technology. So now you're talking about standard router, sort of central hub, and then these little satellites that you put around your home to relay and amplify and extend your network coverage. We live in a pretty rural area with a pretty large house that, not crazy large, certainly not palatial, but it's large enough that, out in the family room where oftentimes we're sitting on notebooks and what have you, the reach down to where the router is in the basement is just not enough to get full performance, and sometimes you get drops. So it'd be interesting to take a look at that.
The Orbi, right? That's what it's called?
The Orbi. There you go. Thank you. You did your research for me. Appreciate that. Yeah, the Netgear Orbi, I think, is coming in. So hopefully that'll prove out to be something interesting, because even with some of the, like, I've got a pretty high-end Netgear router that actually has amplified antennas. That's still not cutting it quite well, or as well as I'd like. So anyways, stop by the site. You could win an HP Pavilion X360 13T notebook. Enter at Hot Hardware's Fall HP Pavilion notebook giveaway. You can find us at hothardware.com. You can find us at facebook.com/hothardware, twitter.com/hothardware or at hothardware, youtube.com/hothardwarevids, and Google+, where you may be watching us now or you might not. I don't know. But
no more Hangouts. It's on YouTube now.
Yeah, they put it to YouTube Live. It's a little weird. And I'm sorry about the comments being off. We toggled the setting. You're supposed to disable live chat, right?
Yeah, it's counterintuitive, but yes, that's supposed to be off. At least that's how it was with Hangouts. Maybe it's flipped back around with this one.
Maybe it is, because I toggled it off because that's what was enabling comments in the live comments in the threads below. But oh well.
We'll figure it out.
Yes. Gentlemen, any parting words before we say goodbye? Wisdom?
Yes. Like and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Like our Facebook page. Subscribe to us on Twitter. Come on, let's keep building this community here. Because when we say, hey, we're going live in a few hours, we want you all participating. We want you to see those posts. So do that stuff.
True.
Yeah,
Yes.
Marco's Italian. He's from almost New York, so you should listen to him.
No, I'm from New York. I'm from New York.
Yeah, but you live in Connecticut now.
Yeah, because New York is... Oh, I almost said something really bad. But yeah, no, New York's too expensive. You got to get out of there. You got to be rich to live in New York now.
It's true. It's true. Well,
all right. I will have my hat the next time we're on the show, but I just wanted to show for this time I do have a little bit more hair than Dave.
You
I had to go without it today.
Yeah, you definitely do, you bastard. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Laters.
So yeah.